everybody. My name is Jessica Almeida. I am a librarian at the UMass D School of Law. And today is the first session in our summer internship series where we'll be finding the perfect secondary source. So before we start, I just want to take a minute to talk about secondary versus primary sources. So if you could in the chat, or if you're watching this video at home, feel free to write down maybe just a few words and tell me, what is a secondary source? And why are they so important to researchers? So go ahead and just take a minute to kind of think through those two questions. Maybe throw something in the chat or write some notes down, and then we'll head to the next slide. So hopefully you wrote down that they provide background and insight or analysis on a legal issue. And they're usually a gateway to finding a primary authority, something that you can cite to. Remember, secondary sources are just tools. They're to help you, really understand the legal issue, but they're not to be cited to. What you're looking for is the secondary to take you to the primary source. And the primary source, the case, the statute, the regulation, that's what you are going to cite to. Okay, so there's just an incredible amount of different types of secondary sources. So why don't you take a minute in chat, type out a type of secondary source that you're aware of, or maybe the title of a secondary source that you know about or that you've used before. If you're watching this video at home, feel free to just jot down some notes. And then we'll start talking about some of the different types. So here is a list of types. It's not exhaustive, but these are the ones that come to mind when I think of secondary sources. Dictionaries, of course, one of the most well-known dictionaries, legal dictionaries, is Black's Law Dictionary. Encyclopedias, American jurisprudence comes to mind when I think of encyclopedias. So these are, this is a multi-volume treatise, or if you're online using a database, they're going to help you understand just generally an aspect of law. Restatements do what their title says. They restate the law to help us understand it better. Law reviews are great. Some of the titles I always think of is, of course, the University of Massachusetts School of Law, Law Review. But Harvard, most law schools have their own law review. Some of them have many law reviews. Treatises are wonderful. These are usually subject or jurisdictional specific, and they cover all different aspects of law. And then, of course, sample form books, which are great. I say books, but these are also databases as well. These are great to get sample briefs or just court forms, an easy way to kind of fill them out. And a lot of them also have instructions or some type of analysis to help attorneys fill out these forms. Just want to take a minute to talk about strategy when you're starting your research problem. Always have a research plan. If you are unaware of the legal issue that you were researching, I always tell students, please start in a secondary source, kind of get a foundation, kind of get an understanding of the issue, and that will help you bring you to your primary sources. Having a research plan is really important. You want to make sure that you know what your jurisdiction is and have some good keywords and synonyms. I like to, even before I go into Lexis and Westlaw, I create a nice list of keywords and synonyms, and then I kind of keep track of how I'm using my connectors and my expanders to create Boolean search strings so that I don't miss anything. Or if I'm, if something doesn't come up right away, I know, okay, I have other words and terms that I can go back to and try again. Like I said before, you want to look for a secondary source that's in a jurisdiction or a specific area of law. And then, My personal strategy is that I drill down in Lexis and Westlaw using either jurisdiction or that specific area of law. And then I use my terms and connectors, and then I look at my results and try to validate to make sure that the search is a good search. And then I make good use of my limiters. And I'm going to show you how to do all of that if you're watching this and you're new to legal research, or maybe this is a refresher. I'll show you all of these techniques when we jump into Lexis and Westlaw. I thought that we'd do two examples today. The first one I'm going to jump into Lexis and do, and then the second one I'll jump into Westlaw. So my first example is that your supervising attorney has asked you to research whether parody falls within the parameters of fair use and copyright law. So first we need to come up with a research plan. If you're not familiar with copyright law, the best place to start is a secondary source, right? So in the chat, or if you're watching this video, feel free to write a few words down. I want you to think about what's the jurisdiction for copyright law. And then find some keywords and think about some synonyms that you want to use. Go ahead and, think about your connectors and your expanders and put together a nice search string. And I'm going to jump into Lexis, and then we'll go ahead and try some searches for secondary sources. Okay, so here we are in Lexis. We're going to be looking for a secondary source in copyright law to hopefully answer our supervising attorney's question. So I'm going to click on Lexis Plus. From here, I want to make sure that my tile on the left-hand side is on legal research and that my tab, I'm on the content tab. Notice in Lexis, they break down the secondary materials into two different groups. So they have treatises and guides and law reviews and journals, or you could just click on secondary materials and search everything. For today, I'm going to look at treatises and guides because I know that Lexis has some wonderful treatises that are specific to copyright law. From here, I want to continue to drill down. This is going to help limit my results ahead of time. So it's not just searching everything, but I really want to be focused and strategic in my research. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to practice areas and I'm going to click on copyright law. This is going to give me a list of all the titles in Lexis, the treatises, guides, and jurisprudence that are specific to copyright law. Now from here, you could select sources to search and then put your search string into the search bar and hit your search button. However, for today, I'm just going to search all the sources on this page, and there's many sources. And then once we get our results, I'm going to use the limiters on the left-hand side to, of course, limit my results to hopefully a nice list to look through. Okay, so once again, you have developed some keywords, some synonyms. You want to make sure that you put them together using connectors or expanders, depending upon what you're looking for. At this point, I'm really thinking about where I want my keywords to be in relation to each other in these publications. Okay, so let me give you an example. We could do parody in the same sentence as fair use. Now, in the same sentence really means around 25 words, okay? Now, if that's too far apart, you want them closer together, you could do within 10 words. Still too far apart, do within 5 words, okay? You could make your search really narrow to start with, or you could make it really broad and then use your limiters to reduce your results. Let's start with just parody within the same sentence as fair use. Okay, so here you see our results. We got 89 results. It's a lot to look through. Let's look through the first 5, make sure that our search is valid and that we're getting the results we're expecting. So this looks good. Copyright infringement, creative commentary, parody, the granddaddy of fair use exceptions. That looks great. So this seems wonderful. This seems like a great search. It worked well. We just have a lot of results. So we can go to the left-hand side. We can use our limiters and reduce our results. Either we can continue to add additional terms to the search within results. We could limit by jurisdiction. So we just want US federal here. They have a sources tab. So if there was a specific source that you're like, oh, I remember Jess talking about NIMR on copyright, you could click on NIMR on copyright and only get those pages. There's a nice practice areas and topics. So I'm going to click on the copyright law practice area. So that's once again limiting my results. They have this really nice keyword. So just in case I've forgotten a word, like the word infringement, that might be something that would help me limit my results and get more secondary sources that are on point. Okay, so now I've reduced it to 59, but I'm gonna look through the list a little bit and just pick one so we can take a look and see if it's on point, if it's going to help me answer my question. Now, you can look at a bunch of these and see which one works best for you. So it looks like this is the art law desk book. Now, my supervising attorney didn't specifically say that it was an art case, just kind of said to look at parody. So I'm feeling like I might need something a little bit more general. So here I come to NIMR on copyright. It's one of the gold standards for treatises in copyright. In Westlaw has one as well. Goldstein on copyright is fantastic. So just because if you just have access to Westlaw, don't think you're not going to find a really good copyright secondary source. Okay. But here we have a deeper dive into parody, satire, and burlesque. And this is part of NIMR on Copyright's defenses of fair use. So if I click into that, I can start to read all about parody. Notice that my keywords are highlighted. You can also go over to the search terms, and you can see here on the left-hand side where all of the search terms are highlighted. There's also a table of contents. So if you wanted to see the sections around this section and read those as well to kind of get a better understanding, maybe you want to read the whole chapter on fair use. That's up to you. So here we have a secondary source. We already start reading. There's an endorsement of parody and a specific case. So once again, your secondary sources are bringing you to your primary sources. And that's really important because the primary sources are the cases and the statutes and the regulations that you're going to read and you're going to use to make your argument. So that's just one way of finding secondary sources. And here in Lexis, let's go take a look at example number 2, and we'll try that one in Westlaw. Right, now that we're back from Lexis, let's try example number 2. This one we're going to do in Westlaw, so you can kind of see Westlaw and Lexis are very similar in the way that they operate. However, they have very different secondary sources because they're both different legal publishers. So example number 2 is that your supervising attorney wants to know when it's an offense to fly a drone in Texas. So once again, we need a research plan. So I want you to think of jurisdiction, area of law, keywords. Synonyms are probably going to be really important here. The word drone might not be the word that we actually want to use, but we'll try that first. Go ahead and take a few minutes and write down some keywords, some synonyms, put together a search string using your connectors and expanders, and then we'll jump into Westlaw and try some of those searches. Okay, so here we are in Westlaw, ready to do some Texas drone research. I'm going to go to the drop-down menu and click on Westlaw Advantage. From here, make sure that your tab is on content types. And then we're going to go ahead and click on secondary sources. Now remember to use your strategies. We're going to drill down a bit. We either can drill down by jurisdiction or we can do it by practice area. Since we know that we're looking specifically at Texas law, let's go down by state and click on Texas. From here, we could search by title if we had a specific title in mind. You could also look at publication series if you knew a specific series that maybe you've used in the past and you just want to search in that series. Let's go ahead and put our search string together. Remember, we're thinking about keywords and synonyms and how to connect them or expand them to find the right relationship. Where are they within the page to make it a successful search so that you get the information that you need? So for this one, we'll do offense. Now we could do within the same sentence as drone, or remember those synonyms we talked about earlier, unmanned aerial vehicle. Now, we could also change this to within 10 words. We could do within 5 words, depending on how narrow or how broad we want it. So let's start with offense within 10 of drone or unmanned aerial vehicle. So that gave us 9 results. That's an easy list to look through. If it was a larger list, I would, of course, use my limiters on the left-hand side. I could search within results and add additional key terms. I could limit by jurisdiction or by date or even publication type if I would prefer to have CLE and seminar materials versus a law review. Or journals. But since we have so few, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the 9. And as you can see, right off the bat, we have this law review article. It is from 2016, so it's a little bit dated. It's about 10 years old. But that doesn't mean that there's not going to be it isn't a good starting place, right? Because our secondary source is going to bring us to our primary. And it looks like we have another Journal of Air and Law, Commerce. This is geophysical, privacy and drones and oil and gas exploration. The drone freight. So this is about Australia. So this is not on point. Tort liability for personal use of drone aircraft. So that might be on point. That's from St. Mary's Law Journal. So you go through this list and pick a few to read. I'm going to go back up to the top and go to that first one because I think that had just was really on point with the criminal liabilities. From here, you have a linked table of contents. You could take a look at that. You can see the potential criminal liabilities for private drone operation is section 4. So you could take a look at that. You could also go into your terms and use this to jump directly to your highlighted sections. So this section specifically makes an offense for any person who intentionally or knowingly operates a drone over critical infrastructure while 400 feet in altitude. So here you have the section of the Texas Government Code where it is an offense. So that is, once again, your secondary, bringing you to your primary. You could click into that. You could read all about that. And then once you have that statute, you can find case law that interprets that statute. You can also click through weapons-related criminal liabilities. So there's related offenses for shooting a drone down. And then you just continue to go through this. If you find that this is a really interesting, like the portions that you're going through, right? We're clicking through to just read the parts with our terms in it. But if you're like, yep, this is it, this is going to be helpful, read the full thing, look for those primary sources to get you to your case law, to help you make your argument, or to help you write your memo for your supervising attorney. So we're back from Westlaw. I just want to thank you all for joining me today. Obviously, if you have any questions about secondary sources or anything to do with legal research, feel free to contact me directly. My email address is there on the screen. Or you can contact the law library. All of the law librarians would be happy to help you with any of your legal research questions. You can contact us at lawlib@umassd.edu. Once again, thanks for joining me today and have a great day.